There was certainly an element of making my grandfather proud and honouring him by taking part in the award that has been so much of his life's work. And I definitely hope that I have made him proud.
The envelope was sealed with the late Queen's own hand. Inside a decision that would shake the royal family to its core. Lady Louise Windsor, the granddaughter who stayed in the shadows while her cousins grabbed headlines, has just inherited one of the most treasured properties in the royal estate. But here's where it gets interesting. Prince William personally intervened to ensure it happened. And Queen Camilla, she wasn't even consulted. This isn't just about a cottage. This is about loyalty, legacy, and a 22-year-old who might be the royal family's secret weapon. Stay with me because what you're about to discover will change everything you thought you knew about the line of succession and who really matters to the crown. The cottage that carries a crown's memories. Let's start with the cottage itself. This isn't just any cottage. It's a significant residence on the 50,000-acre Balmoral Estate in Scotland, which Queen Elizabeth II considered her true home. This cottage has a rich history. Queen Victoria commissioned it in the 19th century when she and Prince Albert transformed Balmoral into a royal sanctuary. Over the years, it became a retreat for family members, allowing royals to escape the strict protocols of palace life. What makes this inheritance special is Queen Elizabeth II's personal connection to the cottage. She often walked to this residence during her summer stays at Balmoral, sometimes alone and sometimes with Prince Philip. It was a place for her to reflect on her reign and family without the pressure of staff and security. The cottage features traditional Scottish architecture. It has weathered stone walls, windows that overlook the Highlands, and interiors that balance historical preservation with modern comforts. Inside, you'll find personal artifacts, family photographs, and the elegant style that the late Queen preferred. This cottage was not used for official functions. It was for personal use. Here, the Queen could be herself, not just a monarch. She chose to pass it on to Lady Louise. The Balmoral Estate includes many properties. The main castle was bought by Prince Albert for Queen Victoria in 1852 and is now privately owned by King Charles III. The estate has various cottages, lodges, and buildings that have been given to family members over the years, some for working royals and others kept for future generations. The fact that this specific cottage with its personal significance has been given to Lady Louise says a lot. This was not just random. It was a carefully chosen decision that revealed who the Queen trusted and who she wanted to carry on her legacy in a personal way. Why Lady Louise, the granddaughter who earned it? Lady Louise Windsor stands out from her royal cousins. While Princess William and Harry often grab headlines and Princesses Beatrix and Eugenie enjoy glamorous events, Louise has remained mostly out of the spotlight. This was by choice. Born in 2003 to Prince Edward and Sophie, Countess of Wessex, Louise grew up differently from most royals. Her parents decided not to give their children Her Royal Highness titles, allowing them to choose between royal life and their own paths. Louise attended regular schools, had friends outside the royal circle, and was raised with values of education, humility, and service rather than privilege. What makes Louise unique is her decision to fulfill her royal duty without seeking attention. After her grandmother, the Queen, died in September 2022, Louise was seen at the vigil dressed in mourning attire. Eyewitnesses noted that while other young royals seemed aware of the cameras, Louise looked genuinely lost in grief. She was not acting. She was truly mourning. Sources say Louise spent a lot of time with her grandmother during the pandemic. While the Queen stayed at Windsor Castle, Louise, who studied at St. Andrews University, visited often. They bonded over their shared love of horses and carriage driving. The Queen, a skilled carriage driver, taught Louise the craft, sharing not just skills, but family traditions. Their relationship went beyond shared interests. The Queen appreciated Louise's discretion. Unlike many royals who have publicly shared their stories and grievances, Louise kept personal matters private. She never leaked information, sought publicity, or used her royal status for personal gain. After the Queen's death, it was revealed that Louise was one of the few family members who had the Queen's personal mobile number. This personal connection, outside the usual royal channels, showed a significant level of trust. Louise also represented the traditional view of royal duty as service, not fame. While at university, she worked part-time at a garden centre, took public transport, and stood in lines like others. When called for royal duties, she handled them with grace and dignity. The Queen once said, Louise understands what it means to be royal without needing to be reminded. This understanding of duty without entitlement makes Louise a fitting heir to a cottage as meaningful as this one. Prince William's surprising intervention. The story takes an unexpected turn regarding Queen Elizabeth II's will. There were questions about how her possessions would be divided, as is often the case in wealthy families. They will clearly state that a cottage would go to Lady Louise, but there were many concerns about whether this was the right choice. Prince William got involved. Sources say he made it clear that his grandmother's wishes for Lady Louise should be followed without hesitation. But William did more than agree. He actively supported Louis' inheritance and ensured nothing would get in the way of the Queen's wishes. Why did William care so much about this particular matter? It shows his vision for the monarchy's future. First, William and Louise share a close relationship. They both understand the challenge of balancing royal duties and personal lives. They have faced intense public attention while trying to keep some privacy. William admires how maturely Louise handles these pressures. Second, William thinks about the royal family's future. He believes it needs members who are dedicated to service but can stay out of the spotlight. Louise is a perfect example of this type of royal. William is also trying to modernize the monarchy while respecting traditions. His support for Louise sends important messages to the family. It shows he values loyalty and discretion. To the public, it shows that the monarchy values true service over mere proximity to the throne. For future royals, it indicates that hard work will be recognized. On a personal level, William observed his grandmother in her later years. He saw her frustrations with certain family members and understood who truly brought her comfort. Louise was part of that small group. By ensuring that she received this inheritance, William honored both his grandmother's wishes and her emotional legacy. William also sees Louise as someone who could take on more royal duties in the future. The monarchy needs dependable royals who can represent the family without causing scandals. Louise fits that bill well. This inheritance acknowledges her past service and invests in her future potential. William's actions show his approach to leadership. Unlike his father, who is often strict about roles and traditions, William supports family members based on their worth and character, not just their rank. This marks a significant change in how the monarchy views its members. Camilla's exclusion. The silence speaks volumes. The most important point in this situation is what did not happen. Queen Camilla was not consulted, informed in advance, or involved in the decision about Louisa's inheritance. This exclusion is important because it reflects the dynamics within the royal family. As queen consort, Camilla might expect to have a say in matters related to royal properties and family assets, especially at Balmoral, where she spends much time, but she was completely left out. To understand why, we need to look at the relationship between Queen Elizabeth II and Camilla. Even though the late Queen accepted Camilla's marriage to Charles and gave her the title of Queen Consort, their relationship was never warm. It was civil and functional, but it lacked genuine affection. The Queen never forgot Camilla's role in the breakup of Charles and Diana's marriage. While she accepted the relationship, her acceptance did not mean approval. In private, the Queen was cautious and maintained emotional distance from Camilla. Importantly, Queen Elizabeth II knew that Camilla was not part of her blood family. The cottage going to Louise shows the Queen's intention to keep her personal properties within her direct descendants who carry her bloodline and legacy. The Queen also had practical concerns. She did not trust Camilla to handle matters about her grandchildren's inheritances. There were worries, perhaps unfounded, that Camilla might push for distributions that would benefit her own family or interests. By excluding her entirely from this process, the Queen prevented any influence or interference. This decision sends a clear message. The cottage represents the Queen's personal legacy, and she wanted that legacy preserved by someone she trusted. Camilla, despite being Charles's wife, had not earned Elizabeth II's trust. King Charles found himself in a tough spot. He could not ignore his mother's wishes, but he also couldn't overlook his wife's feelings about being excluded. Reports say Charles managed this by not discussing the issue at all, not defending or apologizing for the decision. Camilla's reaction was reportedly calm in public, but frustrated in private. She understands that complaining about royal inheritances looks inappropriate, especially when she has no legal claim. However, sources suggest she feels this exclusion shows a bigger pattern. Despite her title and position, She remains outside the true family circle of Elizabeth II. This exclusion hints at what might happen in the future. When Charles eventually passes and William becomes king, will Camilla still have influence, or will she be pushed aside? This cottage inheritance might be a preview of that future. The legal and financial implications. Lady Louise's inheritance of the Balmoral Cottage involves important legal and financial aspects that show how royal estates are managed and preserved. The transfer of the property is complicated. The Balmoral Estate is owned privately by the monarch, which means Queen Elizabeth II had full control over how to share it. Unlike places like Buckingham Palace or Windsor Castle, which automatically go to the reigning monarch, the cottage was a personal gift from the Queen to Louise. The cottage's financial value is likely high. While exact appraisals are not available, similar properties on the Balmoral Estate are valued at millions of pounds. A historic cottage with royal ties on such a famous estate would attract a high price. However, Louise cannot sell it easily as the bequest imposes restrictions requiring the property to remain in the family and be kept in good condition. Owning the cottage also means ongoing expenses. Maintaining a property in Scotland can be costly. This includes property taxes, insurance, heating, which is significant in the Highlands, regular upkeep, and staffing to keep the place secure. For Louise, who is just starting her career, these costs could be high. The royal estate has ways to help with these expenses. Louise likely has access to money from a trust that the Queen set up for property upkeep. If Louise decides to take on royal duties formally in the future, she could receive funding from the sovereign grant, which would help cover her costs. Inheritance tax is another consideration. The royal estate often uses legal methods to reduce tax on property transfers. Louise's gift likely used one of these methods, avoiding the 40% inheritance tax that ordinary citizens would face. The legal documents have specific conditions. Louise must keep the property in good repair, cannot divide or develop the land for commercial purposes, and must offer the reigning monarch the first opportunity to buy it if she wants to sell. These rules ensure the property stays within royal control while allowing Louise to own it. This inheritance also impacts Louise's financial independence. She now owns a valuable asset that, while not easy to sell, offers her security and options. If she chooses not to take on full-time royal duties, the property gives her a stable base for her life. If she decides to engage more in royal work, the cottage can serve as a private getaway, as it did for her grandmother. The financial implications also extend to Louise's future family. If she gets married and has children, this property could become part of a legacy that allows her to support her own family, creating her own branch of the family with independent resources and a direct link to Queen Elizabeth II's personal history. What this means for the future of the monarchy. This inheritance might seem like a simple transfer of property, but it actually shows how the British monarchy is changing and what it might look like under William's future reign. For years, royal importance was based on how close you were to the throne. However, this inheritance emphasizes merit. Louise, who is 16th in line to the throne and unlikely to reign, is given a property of great sentimental and historical value due to her character and service rather than her birth order. This change is important because the monarchy needs to stay relevant in a democratic age. The answer seems to be to show value through service rather than relying on bloodline. Louise perfectly represents this new approach. Prince William is working to create a monarchy that includes dependable, low-drama family members who can share the workload without causing controversies. Louise fits this vision well. She can take on engagements, represent the family at events, and maintain the visibility needed for a modern monarchy without any scandal or excessive media attention. Also, excluding Camilla from this decision indicates a shift in power dynamics. William is positioning the direct descendants of Queen Elizabeth II as the main decision-makers regarding legacy and heritage. This creates a clearer hierarchy that may become more significant as William's reign approaches. There is also an important message about values. In a time when some royals profit from their status, Louise's inheritance shows appreciation for discretion and service. It signals that loyalty and good character will be rewarded. For the public, this story provides a refreshing view. In a royal family, often linked with scandal and drama, here is a young woman who quietly and effectively does her duty. She shows that the monarchy can evolve while keeping the dignity and grace that have made it an enduring institution. Looking ahead, it's likely that Lady Louise Windsor will take on more formal royal duties in the coming years. This inheritance represents not just the past, but also an investment in the monarchy's future, indicating that character, not celebrity, will shape the crown's next chapter. So, here we have a cottage in Scotland, a young woman who earned her grandmother's trust, and a future king who has prioritized merit. This important story isn't often in the tabloids, but it may be the most crucial one of all. What do you think? Is Lady Louise the future of a modernized monarchy, or should royal properties remain with senior working royals only? Let me know in the comments below if you found this discussion valuable. Hit that subscribe button.